Here are some last-minute GCSE English Language Paper 2 revision tips for your exam tomorrow. So here is the structure of Paper 2. You've got 5 questions. The first 4 questions, question 1 to 4, is in Section A, and that is worth 40 marks. And then question 5 is also worth 40 marks, and that's in Section B. So advising looking at the marks, I would suggest spending half the time on questions 1 to 4 and then the other half of the time on questions 5. It doesn't matter which order you do it, that's up to you. So for question 1, that's a multiple choice, it's generally quite straightforward. Question 2, write a summary of the similarities and differences, that's an 8 marker. Question 3, how does the writer use language to describe, and that's in one of the 2 sources that you will be given. In question 4, compare how the writers have conveyed their similar or different views about whatever common theme, and that's a 16 marker. And in question 5, you'll be given a statement and you have to write a letter or an article or a speech. So let's look at the questions in depth. So for the multiple choice question, this is generally quite straightforward. It will direct you to one of the sources, so make sure you're looking at the correct source, and some will require you to infer from the text, and therefore you would not directly have one of the options written out. So I've given you an example here. So I said, the multiple choice might say, children love ice cream, but the extract might say, smiles were always connected to ice cream with children. So you have to infer from that suggests that children love ice cream. So it's a bit more in-depth than the paper 1 multiple choice question. For question 2, this is a writer summary of the similarities or differences in both sources. So you're looking at both sources, and I would suggest don't do this question second, because you have to look at the whole entire source, and it's only 8 marks. You will never be able to look at everything in judicious detail that they require you to. So I would suggest doing this later, but it's up to you. Do not focus on language devices. Just literally list out the similarities or differences and use the quotes as evidence, and you can embed them, but do not focus on the language devices and the effects. They only want bullet points of what are the similarities or what are the differences between the 2 extracts. Now I would suggest 2 to 3 small paragraphs, not too much, and don't feel overwhelmed by this question because it's asking you to talk about the whole of both sources. Try to stay concise. For question 3, this is in source A or in source B. How does the writer use language to describe and whatever the theme is? Now this is the 12 marker, so it gets progressively more and more marks from 8 to 12 to 16. Now even though this is a progression from the 8 marker, do not feel like you have to write a ton amount more than you have just done. The more language devices the better, so you should aim to write about as many language devices. Use embedded quotes, as I mentioned, so embed them into your sentences rather than saying the quote and talk about the quote. Just say, this is suggested by, and enter the quote. Also, being perceptive gets you the top marks. So things like, it could also create the impression that. So that just suggests that you're going above and beyond what the question directly wanted you to answer. Now for question 4, this is comparing how the writers have conveyed their similar or different views about the common theme. So this is the 16 marker. Now, although this is 16 marks, again, it does not necessarily have to be 3 pages long. So I would recommend 3 lengthy paragraphs talking about 3 key ideas. They can also be interlinked because normally they are all overarching the same point about what's similar between them or what's different. Another thing is, do not use time as a difference, because they will always purposely select 2 extracts that are in different time periods, and they do not want that to be a point of difference. And I would also say go backwards and forwards when comparing the texts. Don't just focus on one text per paragraph and then another in the second paragraph. Try to integrate it, but then again saying that if you do spend a paragraph on one of the extracts and then another paragraph on another, you can still get full marks, because we looked at the waggle that did that and did get full marks. Now for question 5, you'll mainly be assessed on your ability to persuade. So no matter if it's a letter or an article or a speech, you're going to be assessed on your ability to persuade, and that's the overall ability here. So by using a range of language devices, this will help improve your grade. Now again, I suggested 45 minutes for this, and also don't forget to argue for and against a point. Don't just think about your opinion, think about the opposite opinion as well, but try to make it that your opinion is more important. Now, for the letter format, just in case you were asked about a letter, here's the format. So you have the address on the left hand side, then the address that you're sending it to on the right hand side, and then you have Dear Sir or Madam. Now, they won't be too fussed about what the address actually consists of, so you don't have to feel like you have to write an actual postcode and actual address. Just write 1 or 2 lines and you should definitely convince them quick enough. Now, good luck for your exam, all the best, and do tell me how it went in the comments below. Thank you for watching and see you soon.